presence on this land is relatively new. Yet it is our DNA that roots all of mankind to this earth. We're not of one place, one country, one tongue, but branches from one magnificent tree. Our history has shaped the journey of all of humanity and is as varied as the shades of our skin. We are the children of Africa, the mother of all mankind. As migrants, we make up only 0.3% of the population of Aotearoa. Our stories are not taught in schools, our cultures are not visible. When people speak about Africans, it is through a narrow lens, not the rich history of our kings and queens, or the societies that rose from our motherland.
I often think about Yemaya, which is part of Caribbean spiritual culture. She rules the sea, and I often like to go and commune with her by the water. I love the ocean. I love the salt. I love the pull of the tide. I love the energy. How it's connected to the moon. I was named after the moon, and it just all feels like a vibe to me. It feels like home. When I was born, I didn't have a name for about 2 months because my mom said nothing that she came up with fit. She said she tried every book and every possible name that she could think of. And she said that I cried every day and refused to accept any of these names. And then my mom says that she named me Diva and then I stopped crying. I was conceived on the island of Kauai. Island baby, no shoes, swimsuit all the time. It was an interesting experience. A lot of times it was very hard being Black in Hawaii because there's a lot of racial tension and it's quite complicated. My parents raising us in Hawaii, that was in itself was quite a progressive thing for a young Black artist to relocate to a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific and raise their children. That really shaped us and how we are, My family ended up in Aotearoa because my brother came through on tour and fell in love with the country. Not long after, he met his wife and they had their first baby. Then my mom came out to just help, and my mom just never left. She brought my 2 younger sisters. I, at the time, was at university in the Pacific Northwest. And we had like a family tragedy and one of my sisters passed away and I just kind of dropped out of school and didn't know what I wanted to do or where to go. My mom was like, come to New Zealand, just come and visit. And I was like, I don't really even know where that is on a map, but fuck it, I'll just go.
Alienation is a common thread across most migrant stories. Our differences are visible, often leading to questions around our presence here, a persistent reminder that we are others.
I get a lot of, where are you from? If I say Wellington, they're like, no, but where are you really from? you can tell that they're like, no, you aren't from here. How did you get here? And even today, just existing in a space when you aren't the majority is very confusing for people. I'm born in Zimbabwe. After spending 2 years in Zimbabwe, my family and I, we moved to England. Moved around quite a lot there. My dad was still completing his education there. He was getting his master's, and then from there going forward to become a doctor. So we moved around quite a bit in the UK. In terms of role models, I think the cheesy answer is definitely gonna be my parents. Just both going up on farms in Zimbabwe to being a doctor and university professor. As I've gotten older, I've come to understand just the difficulties that they faced. My mother being a black woman with a PhD in statistics, the field which is predominantly Pākehā males there. There were times when we first moved to New Zealand that my dad was still back in England, so for a couple of years she was almost raising me as a single mother, which is incredible, and I'll always have the utmost respect for her. My parents would have had to make many sacrifices moving here from England. I mean, they had established themselves, they had careers, they were comfortable, but they decided they wanted to look for greener pastures. It was horrible arriving here. We landed in Wellington. It was super windy. I was in board shorts, and I remember telling to my mum, why did we move to New Zealand? Those first few days were not great at all. They were probably quite traumatizing, but both for myself and my parents.
For many of us, our story mirrors any other migrant journey. Our place on this land earned through hard work and sacrifice. The trauma of our parents.
Somalia is survival of the fittest. You were born into a maze. Every corner you take is a door. I've never showed this to anyone. This is me in like traditional African fabrics and our sheets. As you can see, the whole house is like African. Those curtains never left. That's my mother, Mama Dukes, a matriarch, a warrior. She sacrificed it all for me. My biological father was abusive. She lived out in the streets with me. She was homeless. She's seen the beacon of hope being, all right, I'm gonna sign up for this refugee. She came here and she navigated the storm. She is a definition of keep on keeping on. Growing up in Harrison Craigs, it was rough. When I first got there, it was all Africans. Sudanese people, Somalian people, Ethiopian people. They called it Black Street. And now that I'm older, it's like, oh man, that's pretty racist, you know? If we're all back in the motherland, we will probably never meet each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's facts. Like, we will never meet each other. Coming to a first world country, we still face the same struggles. We don't speak English. We don't dress the same. We don't look the same. So what, we get ostracized, we get made fun of, we get bullied, you know? And which results to trauma that's following you from a place deprived of so much. But coming to a place that everything is a blessing, you know? To me, this nation that we live in is heaven on earth, you know?
People don't know the struggle of our parents. That they
have
went.
you seen your mother cry? An African mother, when they weep, it's like they're crying out to the Lord.
Yeah.
These times of mothers cried out to God because we've had nothing.
As Black Kiwis, we exist now in a space that was not created for us. The children of the diaspora, we are expected to strip layer after layer of our own culture in order to assimilate into a world that still sees us as different.
I remember there was one time I was on the phone with somebody at work. She asked, oh, how do I actually pronounce your name? And I thought, that's lovely. If you're not sure, I got no qualms with somebody asking. So I said, my name is Tabby, and then she was like, what flavor is that? There's not really much that can prepare you to being referred to as your cultural heritage or ethnicity as a flavour. My parents are big on education, so they make sure that I learn English first and foremost, and I don't actually speak my native tongue. They were just wanting me to have the best chance in life, and they saw that as me acclimatising, spending as much time as I can in New Zealand or in England and speaking the language there. My dad specifically, he goes back to Zimbabwe probably a couple times a year. I've probably been back 3 times, say, in the last 10 years. Went to Wellington Boys College for 5 years, fortunate enough to go back to Zimbabwe for a year. Of course, I left there when I was 2 years old, so you go back and they say, I remember when you were this tall. It's like, sorry, I don't remember you, but I mean, conversations like that I'm sure every immigrant child has had to have. In New Zealand, there are surprisingly a lot of Zimbabweans, but we're relatively disconnected throughout the country. Growing up in a foreign country, the people I surrounded myself with aren't Zimbabwean, aren't African, so it's hard day to day to feel much of a connection to Zimbabwe. So I think definitely when you're at a place where you aren't the majority and people almost kind of group you together, you do feel some form of a connection because there are some shared experience between, I'm going to generalize, Africans, Māori, Pacific, different types of ethnicities. Now, unfortunately, some of those shared experiences may be horrible ones where there's, say, racial abuse at school, but even within that, going through that struggle together, being on the outside looking in, there is just a certain alignment there in terms of like, we're kind of in this together.
When I first moved here, I noticed instantly how the light hits things differently here. Everything felt really illuminated and glowing, and people were really different. You know, it was weird to speak to people and be like, they kind of sound English, but they don't. But I'm also getting like island vibes. So I feel like I'm kind of like in Hawaii. It was an interesting transition, but it felt really familiar, especially like the Pacific and Māori culture. It felt really familiar to me. And so I felt at home with that. The last letter of Queen Liliuokalani, you know, you read it when you're growing up in Hawaii. Basically, she says that I don't condone this illegal takeover of my and our, as Hawaiian people's, land and monarchy, but I'm being forced to forego my claim to this crown in order to save lives. The whole time you're growing up in Hawaii, you're growing up on land that is part of the United States. You're growing up on seized land that is stolen. And then growing up in New Zealand, like, how do you not grow up in stolen land? It's like almost everywhere you go, the land has been stolen. So crazy to sit and think, like, you're a stolen body on stolen land, almost wherever you go. My whakapapa is from the US, by ways of the Caribbean, by ways of Africa, primarily Nigeria, and then I'm also Pakeha, Irish and English. Being a Black American, then also there's a lot that I don't know, being that my ancestors were enslaved.
And I won't be the only one travel over land and sea. And I won't be the only one, 'cause that's a lonely life for me.
I would definitely say that aspects of my culture and my whakapapa influence my music.
I won't be the only one. Lay my life on the line.
Being the daughter of one of the pioneering blues musicians, you can't help but be influenced by that. You know, I come from a long line of creatives and musicians and storytellers on my father's side of the family. My grandfather was a composer, and my dad told me Ella Fitzgerald used to call him the magician. And I'd be like, what? Sorry, what, Dad? Learning more about my parents helps me step into myself a little bit more, knowing the things that I can know about my lineage.
The search for identity is a struggle faced by all young people. Yet for first-generation migrants, our journey could be multifaceted.
Growing up, I was a curious kid. I could never stay still. I don't know if I had ADD or ADHD. I was really ostracized. I was not part of the pack of my Somali people. I remember just going to the mosque down the road at Taita. I'd go and hang out with my homies, but the parents for some reason never liked me. This is my first time coming here in 10 years. Long time. Sheesh. I remember when I first became a Christian and I got the boot from my house. I remember getting threats online, Somali and Muslim kid. That's a foreign concept. When the shooting in Christchurch happened, the family here was so scared. They thought that would happen again. So all the people around here came and shielded the place. The Mongomos came, Black Powers came in unity and solidarity for that reason. And it's just cool knowing what people can do together. Now that I'm a youth worker, coming back to the hood, Nai, it gives you a reason, it gives you a why. Though that people may say it's a place that's full of bad things and things like that, even though you're exposed to it, you know why those things are happening. Their home may be broken, they may be feeling lonely, they may not have money, they may not have food, they may not even have hope.
Blessed to have this man in my life, yeah. I remember one day we were having a korero and he said, "Bob, one day you're gonna give up the gangs, I know it, and one day you're gonna stop doing the drugs." And I just thought, that's never gonna be me. They would keep reminding me every day, this is not who you wanna be. And I thought it was me, I really thought it was. I was just lost, I didn't know where to go. No one to show me. Wasa showed me the right path, and it was really cool to have something like that. And not much people get that, these young ones.
One of my whys is to be a reason these kids don't want to pick up a patch, pick up a pipe, pick up these habits that are detrimental. And I know why they go to those things, because it's accessible. They find freedom in those things. The world don't love them. I want to pick that up. But to now hang out with these young bucks and instill hope within them to spark something that's going to make them run their race and not give up.
Though our presence here in Aotearoa is barely visible and rarely recognized, the impact of our culture is reflected through all aspects of popular culture, as if a part of us has been borrowed while another part has been asked to be less Black.
You'll see people emulating your culture and then rejecting you. And that hurts my spirit sometimes, It's there's a lack of recognition of you as a human in connection with your culture and the wide, overarching, overreaching touch of African American culture and how it's embraced and mimicked and recreated and also identified with by so many different cultures that are not of yours. There are a lot of young Black creatives in Aotearoa that do not get even a fraction of the support that they should, and yet their music is everywhere. And it's making money for other people. I see that across the board. I see that with Pacific Island and Maori cultures as well. Equity for Black immigrant people in this country is always at the forefront of our conversations. I think that the goal is to find like understanding of each other's cultures and respect of each other's cultures and compassion and empathy for each other, and recognize that we're more the same than we are different, and where we are different, that's to be respected.
Can you hear me through that?
Yeah, I can hear you through one.
You know what? We're probably just gonna jump right into it.
Yeah, let's go.
First article, released on July 16th, 2017. The headline is, MP admits she lied to keep benefits. Green Party co-leader Matiria Toure has admitted she once lied to authorities to keep her benefit.
The Unpack podcast, it started out as just a bit of a baby idea.
A lot of reactions and likes and shares.
It's a hot button issue.
Troy says, prosecute her and get my hard-earned tax dollars back from the fraudster. Do you like
From
that?
the fraudster.
You like
I like that. You had that little
fraudster?
spice on the end. That was nice, man. That was good. The staff comments have always been an area that people have kind of laughed at and thought, gosh, how horrible is that people have these opinions, but just sitting back and laughing at somebody's opinion is literally not going to move the world forward in any way, shape or form. So we read staff comments, NZ Hero comments, etc. on social media, and we dissect them.
Let's talk about welfare fraud first, all right? Guess how much welfare fraud amounts up to a year?
A few million?
It's 30.6 million. Compared to the government losses from tax avoidance, guess how much that comes up to?
Maybe like 20 mil or something?
1.2 billion.
When you talk to people and explain to people maybe this is why that point doesn't actually make sense, they tend to understand. So the SAVES approach has been around for a number of years and aimed around improving the mental health of rangatahi around the country with a focus on journaling. Last year we had the class of 2020, which was about 30 young people from New Zealand and Australia. Every week we would send them a prompt, and a prompt would consist of something like, tell me of a time when you felt anxious over the last year, questions that we kind of think that more people should be asking, more people should be having conversations about. And at the end of the year, we packaged that up as a bit of an online journal with the idea that hearing of somebody else's struggle, somebody else's experience will make you feel as though you're not alone. The dreams I have for future storytellers. I want the world to be a place where everybody has the access, the agency, the ability to tell their story. That's something which I am quite passionate about, because everybody has a unique story, a unique experience.
With resilience, we rise to the challenges of being Black. And for a moment, spurred by the injustices against our brothers and sisters on other shores, the country rose with us.
So how I came to MC the Black Lives Matter March, I was invited out from a friend Tina. I was nervous. I spoke in front of crowds of 200, 300. So I remember showing up and I look back behind me and I see thousands and thousands of people. I never knew the impact that it would create, eh? It made something dormant wake up within me, the activist within me, the one that stands up for things within me. And that made me realize, I started confronting people. Say my name properly, bro. Don't call me Wiser or Wulsa. Nah. I'm not Black. I am Somalian. I am African. I'm thankful for it, eh? Straight up. Because I don't let things slide no more. I don't let someone talk down on me because of my skin color. It's giving me my true identity. We fight for the next generation, the tamariki, so the generational curses don't follow them. We fight for what's right and what we truly deserve, you know? And we fight for liberation, a peace of mind. We fight for having a beautiful community. We fight to see hope. We fight to see freedom happening here.
Black culture in Aotearoa is still in its infancy. Struggling to find a space on these shores for our blackness will mark our journey. But we are making movements and creating waves, taking control of our narratives and redefining what it means to be Black and Kiwi.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.